Hey everyone, I've recently been thinking about how my channel has veered away from its origins, which was initially just sharing my experience, stories from my life in a clear way that can help people. And I want to return to that energy on my channel. So if you're currently in a toxic situation, whether it's a soul-killing job, an unhealthy marriage, a toxic family system, or under a corrupt government and you can't see a way out, this video is for you. You don't need anything special to do these things. You don't need any money or to believe in anything. You can just take these steps and you will start the momentum of change in your life. These are not going to be typical tips like read 10 new books a year and take some deep breaths. No, I believe in taking the big leap and cleansing by sacred fire. So here we go. Now, thank you to all my returning subscribers. I love seeing your familiar faces in the comments. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Adelle Ramcharan. I've inspired millions of people around the world to start thinking of possibilities where they saw none before and teaching everyday people how to start businesses online and start living their dreams. I never tire of receiving your messages about how my work has changed your life, even though I now also have a very lucrative and fulfilling career online in coding and web development. I'm never going to stop making content and programs to help anyone who's in similar situations that I've been in this life. That is my calling and life's work. Now, I share a number of metaphysical and mindset tips in videos like these. I'll link two of them right here. And that's because I know that our brain creates our experience of reality. It creates the amount of money that shows up in our bank account, the way people perceive us, the people who come into our lives and the people who exit it. Everything starts there. But for much of my life, I did not know this. So how was I able to break free? Today, I'm looking back and thinking about it. Like the majority of people in North America who live quiet lives of frustration, disappointment, and settling in all areas of their life due to no fault of their own, human lives have been engineered to be that way, I was not actively working on my brain. So it was just serving me up more and more of the same thing, which is what it will do, right? Your brain's job is not to make you happy, but to keep you alive. Now, what is familiar to the brain is what is safe. So it will try to keep you around people, situations, and emotional states that are similar to whatever you experience in the first 6 years of life. That's why most people typically make salaries that aren't too different from their parents. This is why most people end up with the same kind of romantic partner over and over and over again, no matter how hard they try. Unless you are actively training your brain towards a new reality, just like you train any other part of your body, the brain will trick you and make you do whatever you have to do to always choose the familiar in the end. And let's be grateful, because this is what makes you not want to walk off a cliff or touch a hot stove twice. It keeps us alive. It keeps us safe. Now, woe be unto you if, like me, you grew up in a toxic environment for the first 6 years of your lives, because you're most likely in a toxic environment in your life now as well. I grew up without a father, which is a travesty in itself. You know, children raised in fatherless homes are significantly more likely to experience suicide, depression, early sexual activity, addictions, difficulty building and holding on to loving relationships. I was also raised by an abusive and neglectful single mother. So we were poor and there was a social stigma on us. I experienced a lot of shame over this. And I've experienced a lot of issues with self-hate and self-sabotage, which I've had to work really hard to overcome. I'm going to talk about that in a future video. But my mother used to send my brothers and I begging door to door to our neighbors' houses for whatever she wanted. Cigarettes, a cup of sugar, money. It was humiliating and terrifying. My mother was angry, lethargic, and depressed. When we were at home, we were marinating in fumes from her chain smoking, which clung to her clothes and hair no matter how often they were washed. We also now know that secondhand smoke contains more than 7,000 toxic chemicals, 70 of which have been directly proven to cause cancer. We know that chemicals in secondhand smoke affect a child's brain, ways that interfere with breathing regulation, the normal functioning of the heart, blood, and vascular systems. And children whose parents smoke get sick more often. Their lungs grow less than children who don't breathe secondhand smoke. They get more bronchitis, pneumonia, and asthma. Not only that, but it was modeling addiction to young minds. And what does the brain do? It will copy. It copies the behaviors, the moods, the attitudes, the words spoken and unspoken, and the energy of the ones who are in charge. So coupled with the emotional trauma. It should come as no surprise that myself and my younger brothers have struggled with severe and debilitating addictions in our adult lives. I talk about mine in this video, which I'll link here, and my brother talks about his and his YouTube channel, which I will link down below. So suffice it to say, when I tell you that I am a master of overcoming odds, changing my environment and circumstances, and coming out on top, this is not an exaggeration. I came up from the complete and utter bottom, and I've done this over and over again in my life. So let's get to the first tip of how I've been doing that. So number one, I like to call this walk into the wilderness. It sounds a bit more mysterious, but basically what I'm trying to say is take a risk and do the unexpected thing. Now, this advice doesn't shock any of you who know that I recently went from living my ideal life, quiet and peaceful, surrounded by family and pets in Montana with my husband, to divorced and moved to Mexico, when I've never lived outside of Canada or the US before. Now, that was probably the most radical leap I've ever made in my life. I assure you it was very necessary. I wanted to be married and live out there my entire life, but that wasn't going to be possible for me for personal and private reasons, so here I am. But I've taken other brave leaps in life that were necessary for my dignity. For example, one time, my mother made me attend a week-long camping trip to the lake with the terrible, mean teenagers in the church youth group. Now, I couldn't know if these people were indeed racist, because on top of being the only non-quote-unquote white person and the only person from a single-parent home, I was also poor, socially awkward, and badly groomed. And those are traits that will cause other humans to treat you in a subpar manner most of the time, regardless of your skin color. So we'll never know for sure. If you want to know about the times when it was crystal clear that people were being racist of me in life, and stories about how I've successfully dealt with it since grade school, you want to check out the absolutely crazy stories in my new audiobook, I Thought I Was White: Free Yourself from Racial Narratives and Live Well While the Haters Stay Mad. If you want to hear a free preview, I've got it linked below. Anyway, these mean, rich Christian children excluded me, sneered at me, mocked me, ignored me. When I brought a friend with me to this weekend summer camp, they co-opted her into their group and she went along with it. That was just peachy. Anyway, thank God it happened, because I ran into a pivotal moment of character development on my life path because of this. One evening, we were all gathered outside to play a game called Sardines. This is a game where everyone closes their eyes and counts, and one person goes off to hide. Everyone then splits up, tries to find the one who hid. When you find that person, you hide there with them until eventually everyone's hiding in the same spot and the last person to find them is out of the game. When it was my turn to hide, I can see and remember it still, the orange of the evening sky. I was running down the dirt road, trees on all sides, the lake on my right where I got bit by a horsefly for the first time. I was scared of leeches, so I always stayed on the shore. Now I'm a bush girl. I've been to wild places in nature so high up and far out that possibly no human eye has seen before. I like being alone in the desert with no clothes on for weeks. And out here in Mexico, I will jump in the ocean and swim out past the waves. But back then, I was terrified of the woods beyond the beaten path. There were lots of places to hide on that property. There was like a bunkhouse, the cabins we slept in, the mess hall, there were boats and storage buildings. All those seemed too obvious for me, so I ran down the road slightly away from the property and found myself on the main road. And then I stood there and kind of panicked. I could hear they had stopped counting and were starting to mill out to look for me. I looked around. On both sides, there was a sloped ditch that led to the dense woods. But other than that, nothing more than road for miles where I'd be clearly visible. But somehow, miraculously parked nearby, there was a pickup truck. I could hear my friends coming now, so I just crouched down behind the truck and waited. I felt a bit pathetic, honestly, and I was about to be busted. I could hear the mean girls and my traitor friend getting closer. They were almost upon me, heading straight towards me. And that's when I heard my former friend say this: "I bet you she's just behind the truck. She's too scared to do anything else." They were like right there, about to find me any second. And when I heard that, something in me just clicked. And I was like, you know what? No. I looked to the side of me and I was sure that the bottom of that ditch was going to have swamp water and mosquitoes, and that the dark woods were going to be creepy and just like the ones where bad things happened to children in fairy tales. But I just did it. I timed it so that just as they approached the side of the truck I was on, I moved to the front and then jumped down into the ditch and into the woods. I did it quickly and then froze because I was sure they had heard me, but they hadn't. And this was where I learned that I have a way in the woods. I'm very light-footed there, and I can just disappear into the trees. It was like I had been doing that for a very long time, but I assure you that had not been the case. I'd been terrified of the woods for forever. So I just waited quietly and watched them leave. Then I went a bit further in, where I found a spot inside some fallen trees where I could watch the road from all sides, and settled in. And I realized it wasn't creepy at all. It wasn't damp either. It smelled like pine needles, and it was peaceful and quiet. Eventually, I was found by one guy. He was the hot guy at camp, and for a while, it was just him and me there, and I remember him being really impressed. He was like, "This is a good spot." And I smiled and said, "Thanks." So that was my second triumph that weekend. Sometimes you won't find your wings until you're forced to fly. The moral of that story is that you're a character in the movie of your life. In the end, we all become stories. What's the story of your life going to be? Are you at a point where there could be a plot twist, some unexpected character growth? Watch for the mention of a new possibility for you or your life. Surprise everyone and do the unexpected thing. When your opportunity comes, take it. The next thing I learned pretty quickly when I was in a toxic environment, what comes with a toxic environment? Toxic people, toxic friends, family, spouses, relationships. And what I learned was to pull my attention away, because it's very easy when you're in that environment to just like focus on all the things that all these people did or didn't do for you, or how difficult it is. Pull your attention away from the toxic people. Make sure to do it in a non-dramatic way. Like, don't just like stop talking to them or tell them, I'm not gonna, I don't, whatever. Don't fight with them. Don't create more drama, because people who are in that toxic state, trying to talk about things and work things out with them, usually it doesn't go well for you. So for me, I would just pull your attention away from the negative, do exactly what you have to do to kind of like keep them happy and to not spend any more time or attention on them. I remember when I was still too young to move out, but I still had to live, and so I still had to live with my toxic mother, I stopped arguing with her. Anything she said, I just kind of agreed with. Anything she asked me to do, I did it quickly and well without like doing any more talking. And if she asked me any questions, I would just answer them in a very bland manner that kind of shut the conversation down. Now that's actually called the gray rock technique. I'll include a link to a video for that below. I just figured it out as a kid that she was toxic. I didn't want her knowing anything really about me that she could use against me. So what I did start doing was looking for people who did inspire me. Some of the teachers in my school, they were, women who seemed radically different from my mother. They were like well-dressed, kind, well-spoken, professional. And so I kind of began looking up to them and just looking at them and admiring things in them and thinking how I could be more like them. For you, if you're in a toxic situation, who knows who it could be? It could be even like the baristas at your morning coffee shop. If you're stuck and trapped in a toxic relationship with a man, start looking for men who impress and inspire you and make you believe again. For me, I had to go on Instagram to find that. I'll link the Instagram account that I like below. It's like for emotional intelligence for men and for men learning to like take responsibility. And that really inspired me. Don't argue with your spouse. If you've been arguing for a really long time and nothing's changing, don't argue. And don't like argue in a way that's like, oh no, I'm fine. Like don't be passive aggressive about it. Just look at whatever and whoever's in front of you and just accept them. Accept that they're trying the absolute best they can. Even if it doesn't seem that way to you, just completely accept them. And then start looking at and appreciating traits in people that you admire, because then your reality will start changing. So either the person in your relationship will start changing, or you'll start just not vibing with that reality anymore until you find yourself in a new one. I also did anything that I could do to get myself out of the house and away from the toxic person. With my mother, it was like extracurricular activities. So I would sign up for stuff at school. I would volunteer to help the teachers clean the chalkboards after class. I would look for and get part-time jobs. My mother would take my money, but to me, I was like, no, this gets me out of the house. It's helped me build work experience. When I've been living with a man and I felt like I didn't have a way out, I would do things like, start going to the gym, start taking walks every evening, like for a really long time, just things you can do so that you don't have to be in that toxic environment with that person. I remember when I was in toxic work environments or jobs that I hated, the way I got out of that was just by doing those jobs really, really well. By challenging myself to be on time, to be the perfect employee, just to kind of make it so that I got to a point where I was too good for that job eventually. Because, a toxic relationship will bring you down. It can turn you into a nagging woman, and then if you're upset and you have unhealthy coping mechanisms, you're going to eat, you're going to get fat. A toxic relationship will bring you down to its level the longer you stay in it. A toxic work environment is going to do the same thing to you, bring you down to its level. You're going to be miserable, you're going to be a bad worker, and then eventually you're going to be the perfect kind of worker to be in that environment. So you have to start changing yourself from the environment that you're in. So I remember, when I was in a toxic work environment, I used to combine my breaks into one. So I have a big long break, and then I would go sit in a park and I would listen to Wayne Dyer or, some entrepreneurial things. I had no idea how I was going to start doing these things, but I was surrounding myself in it and just getting used to it. When I first heard the word entrepreneur, I did not know what it meant, but I knew, I just had this weird inkling inside me. I'm like, that's me, and that's what I'm going to do. And I had no idea what it was or how I do it, but I did. I would go to the library for hours, and I would just be fascinated. I would read these books on Greek mythology, psychology, spirituality, business. This was before YouTube existed, so you had to go to the library to get access to those things. And it was good because it got me out and away from the house. And start dreaming again. Start dreaming a new dream for your life, even if it seems impossible. Write down what you would need to get out of your current situation. Write down opportunities that could possibly happen to you that would make a big difference for you. YouTube and the internet has been such a blessing. You can go on there, you can go on social media or on YouTube, and you can just completely immerse yourself in the best teachings from the most enlightened teachers and masters out there. So understand that in life, what you want wants you back. Whatever it is that you want, there is a person or a situation out there that is absolutely perfect for you. Also, take stock of yourself. And if you don't have a clear vision of yourself, which is very easy to do when you're in this really low state, it can be so hard to have a clear vision of your strengths, your weaknesses, your skills. Take stock of the things that you can do or you have done. Maybe, you haven't worked as a coach or a counselor before, but you've always been the one in your group of friends who everyone kind of goes to talk about things, right? That was me. I found that when I was at any job that I had, eventually I became like a mentor to my boss. And I was like, I know this is not normal. This person's older than me, and they're coming to me and talking to me about their emotional reality and their business decisions. And I'm like, this is something about me that is a skill. So as many of you know, I have been coaching for years since my channel started. Kind of on and off. I have some really long-term clients who I've had for a really long time, and have a routine with nature, no matter what it is. For me, of course, I recommend just going for a walk wherever you are. Find a safe place, get out there, appreciate, enjoy, look at all the details of nature, and just realize that you're a part of it. Realize that you are as natural and as abundant as the leaves on a tree, as the flowers that bloom, right? I remember when I first moved to the Crow's Nest Pass, which was my absolute dream come true, to live in the mountains while making money online. And I used to go out to these beautiful fields of waving grain, and I would listen to them, and I would look at them, and I would think about how the love of God is like one of those blades of grass in an infinity. And then all of the blades of grass contain infinities of love from God. And yeah, and how all of the blades of grass are equal to one grain of sand on a beach, compared to the love that God has. And I would think about things like that, and I would think about money in that way and people I could help. I mean, there are billions of people on this planet. More and more are coming online every single second, every single day, and they want what you have, whether it's your knowledge or something special that you create or sell. So the opportunities truly are endless. I love all the YouTube videos I'm seeing now from like older people who are coming on and just like talking about their lives. I'll link some of those channels below. So that's that chat for you all today. I am living a life more beautiful than I could have ever imagined here in Mexico. And I know that videos like this one that I'm making now, was what helped encourage me when I felt like I couldn't see anything else. So I'm so happy to draw you into my reality for just a moment. Please click like on this video if you liked it, subscribe for more, and leave me a comment below. I reply to all of them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
You okay? You want to smell me? You like me? This guy's like, I don't know about this chick.